My ex's mom and I got stranded in a snowstorm. She said, "Don't tell her about tonight." I still remember the sound. Not the wind, not the snow, the sound of her voice trembling in the dark as she looked straight at me and whispered, "Please, don't tell Emily about tonight." If anyone had walked into that abandoned ranger cabin, they would have assumed the worst. My ex-girlfriend's mother and I, alone, snowed in, one bed, no cell service, no way out until morning. But what happened that night wasn't what anyone would believe. And the secret she trusted me with had nothing to do with romance. It had everything to do with the woman I thought I knew, and the family I'd once dreamed of marrying into. My name is Ryan, and until that weekend, I thought the hardest part of my life was getting over Emily. Turns out I hadn't even scratched the surface. Emily and I had broken up 8 months earlier after nearly 4 years together. There wasn't some dramatic betrayal or screaming match. Life just pulled us in different directions. She wanted to move across the country for a marketing job she'd worked years to earn. I had just taken over my father's small construction business after he retired because of his bad knees. Neither of us wanted to ask the other to sacrifice everything. So we ended it. Peacefully. Painfully. We promised we'd stay friends. Like most couples who say that, we failed miserably. The calls stopped. The messages became birthday texts. Eventually, even those disappeared. The only person who occasionally reached out was her mother, Linda. Not often, just enough to remind me she still cared. Linda had always treated me like family. She was the kind of woman who remembered everyone's birthday, baked pies for neighbors, and somehow made every guest feel like they belonged. When Emily and I dated, Linda used to joke that she got me in the breakup. Emily would roll her eyes. "Mom, stop stealing my boyfriend." We'd all laugh. Back then, it seemed harmless. Now those memories felt like photographs from someone else's life. A week before Christmas, Linda called me unexpectedly. "Ryan?" "Hi, Linda. I hate asking this, sweetheart. You know you don't have to apologize. My SUV won't start, and I promised to deliver blankets and food to the mountain shelter before the storm gets worse." I looked outside my office window. Gray clouds covered the sky. The weather report had warned about heavy snowfall by evening. "I can drive you." "Oh no, I couldn't ask that." "You already did." She laughed softly. "I suppose I did." An hour later, I pulled into her driveway. She stepped outside wearing a thick blue winter coat and carrying 3 large boxes. "I packed too much." "You always do." "I know. Some habits never changed." The drive started quietly. Holiday music played softly through the speakers, while snowflakes floated lazily across the windshield. Linda stared out the window. "You look tired." "I've been working too much." "You always answer with work. It's easier." She smiled sadly. Still avoiding the real answer? I shrugged. "I guess." She didn't push. That was another thing about Linda. She knew silence could be kinder than questions. About 40 minutes into the drive, the snow became heavier. Visibility dropped fast. The roads that had been merely wet turned white within minutes. "You think we should turn around?" Linda asked. "We're only 15 minutes away." Almost as if the mountain heard me and decided to punish my confidence, a loud crack echoed through the forest. A massive pine tree crashed across the road less than 50 yards ahead. I slammed the brakes. The truck skidded sideways before finally stopping. Neither of us spoke. The tree completely blocked the road. I shifted into reverse. Nothing. Another glance in the mirror made my stomach sink. The road behind us had disappeared beneath blowing snow. "We're stuck," I muttered. Linda quietly crossed herself. "I know a ranger cabin," she said after a moment. "What?" "We're about a mile from an emergency shelter." "In this weather?" "We don't have another choice." She was right. The truck wasn't going anywhere. We packed essentials into backpacks. Flashlights, water, blankets, a small first aid kit. The wind hit us like a wall the moment we stepped outside. Within seconds, snow covered our boots. Each step felt heavier than the last. The trail was barely visible. More than once I wondered if we'd wandered in the wrong direction. Linda stumbled. I caught her arm before she fell. "I'm okay. You don't have to pretend." She looked at me with tired eyes. I've been pretending for a long time. I wasn't sure what she meant. Before I could ask, a faint wooden structure appeared through the blowing snow. "There," she shouted. "The cabin. Weathered, but standing." I forced the frozen door open. Inside it smelled like old pine and smoke. There was a fireplace, a stack of chopped wood, one narrow bed, a small table, and enough space to survive the night. I quickly started a fire while Linda searched the cupboards. "Canned soup," she called out, "and coffee. We're rich." She laughed for the first time that day. The fire slowly filled the room with warmth. Our gloves dried beside the flames. Outside, the storm only grew louder. I tried my phone. No signal. Linda checked hers. Nothing. We're officially off the grid. I haven't been off the grid since Emily convinced me to go camping. I regretted saying her name the moment it left my mouth. Linda quietly stirred the soup. "You still love her?" It wasn't a question. I stared into the fire. "I don't know." She nodded. "That's the answer people give when the truth hurts." "What about her?" Linda hesitated. "I wish I knew." The room fell silent again. We ate simple soup from metal bowls. The wind shook the cabin every few minutes. Around 9 o'clock, the lights from my flashlight suddenly flickered. The batteries were dying. The fire became our only source of light. Linda pulled an old photograph from her wallet. It showed Emily, at about 10 years old, smiling with missing front teeth, while holding a snowman almost taller than she was. "She loved snow," Linda whispered. "I remember." So did her father. I looked up. Emily rarely talked about him. He had died years ago. That's what I'd always believed. Linda stared at the picture for a long moment before quietly saying something that made my heart stop. "Ryan, there's something Emily never knew." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked toward the fire, tears gathering in her eyes. "The story I told her about her father." She paused, her hands trembling. "It wasn't the truth." I sat frozen, unsure whether to speak. Then she looked directly at me. "Before this night is over, you're going to understand why I've carried this secret for 23 years. And in that moment, I realized the snowstorm wasn't the reason fate had stranded us together. It had simply made sure there was nowhere left to run from the truth.